Hey everybody, in this episode, it's myself, Ben, and Stevie Buckets, a blast from the past. He hasn't been on in a while. Today we're talking about recovery pie chart. See, when we get into recovery / sobriety, there is this thing called balance, and we discuss what does a proper recovery pie chart look like? If we're looking at a pie, what is it supposed to look like? How much effort are you putting into your recovery? How much effort are you putting into your family, your spirituality, your work, your career, so on and so forth? We're discussing that and more in this episode. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we got Stevie Buckets.
What's up, guys?
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, boys?
The messier, the better.
That's correct.
Also, go to realrecoverytalk.com/guide. There you're going to you are going to find a handful of guides. 5 total to choose from. Pick whatever guide best suits your needs, and you put your email in, and print it out, read it, and do what you may with it. I think there's 5 there total. They're good guides. They're actually assessments. Am I an alcoholic? Am I codependent? Am I an enabler? 5 steps to get your loved one the help that they need. And I believe there's one more, but I am drawing a blank. It's 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. So, but we're here. Also go to realrecoverytalk.com, and on the front, you're going to see a little hyperlink that says schedule a call. There you could schedule a free consultation call with either myself, Ben, or Dr. Tambini. We try and keep those brief, 10 to 15 minutes, but you could tell us what's going on in your life and see if we can assist in any sort of way. If you would like to schedule ongoing calls, you can go to realrecoverytalk.com/services. There you're going to find 3 links, one with myself, one with Mr. Ben, and one with Dr. Tambini. Pick whomever it is that you would like to chat to, click that, and make payment, and you have a 1-hour conversation with us, and we can navigate your situation. So, Ben, that's new. I didn't even tell you about that until just now.
Correct.
What do you think about that, Ben?
I get you for free all the time. I feel very lucky.
Well, you should.
I was going to say, I feel honored.
You should feel honored.
You guys are like
Steve.
an office away.
An office away.
Yeah.
That is a nice thing about working in this field. I brought this up before. Like, dude, we work with therapists. Mm-hmm. We got people in recovery. We are very fortunate, like, to be a work environment where it's okay to be vulnerable and authentic. And, yeah, man, we're all human beings. We go through stuff, dude, especially doing what we do. It's a lot of up and down emotional roller coaster all the time. And what do the therapists say all the time? Every therapist needs a therapist. Like, it's a lot carrying other people's weight when they can't carry it themselves until they can carry it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, here we are, Stevie Buckets. Glad that you can join us. How's things been in your life?
Things are great, man. I feel I'm grateful that you asked me to be on, like always. So thank you for having me.
No, it's an honor.
Yeah.
Are you going to the NA World Convention this weekend?
That's up in the air to be determined.
Could be, though.
I could.
Where is it?
It's in Washington, D.C.
Oh, nice.
The lovely Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's a great place.
It is a great place.
Uh-huh.
I want to go back as an adult.
I
haven't been back since I was a kid.
No, not since 5th grade patrol trip.
No.
What? Are you laughing because I was on
What is
patrol?
that?
The safety patrols.
Oh, God. This is roast time.
You had
Steve.
a satchel?
Yeah.
I did. I had a nice
What color was
orange.
Freaking narc. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It was orange, bright orange.
What did it say on it?
It came
Safety
with a little
team?
silver badge, and you just like guide the. You're in 5th grade. You like guide the kindergartners to class and like help them out, dude. Service work, Tom. Instilled in me at an early age.
Just to be straight up with you, I was like always like jealous. The badge seemed really cool and to have that power, but I was never like that well behaved, so I was never considered for that role.
This is fascinating. I always thought the safety patrol for you was just something that, like I always joked, but I didn't think it was an actual real thing at any point in time.
Yeah, I am actually for Rock, like with DCF, the named safety officer.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
It's pretty legit.
learn something new every day, Steve.
You really do.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm a rule follower today.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, Steve, I ran group with Steve. When was this? Last week.
It was last Tuesday, yeah.
Last Tuesday, and Steve brought something up in the context of the group, and he talked about a recovery pie chart. And obviously, I'm always in podcast mind trying to think and come up with new discussions that we haven't had in the past, or maybe we have had, but this is a different spin on things. And I liked the whole pie chart analogy when it comes to recovery. So I said, Steve, don't forget that. We're going to record about that. And so here we are. So Steve, why don't you give us a rundown of what you were talking about whenever you say recovery pie chart?
Okay, so like I kind of like formulated this in early recovery. I just kind of came naturally, like how I looked at my life.
I'm like thinking of Steve with a crack cookie. This is
No,
where this
that wasn't
originally
early.
came
That
from.
See, that was addiction. That wasn't early recovery.
Okay, so I went from a
Yeah,
cookie
that's
to
where
a pie.
That's where I got the first off, I never had enough or would be considered a cookie. It was let's just get that out.
I was just going to ask, what's a crack cookie?
So when you make it, it comes in one big, extra large Mrs. Fields cookie size, and then you got to break it up.
Really?
So, they come out really big.
That would have been a dream to have that much money to purchase one, but that wasn't my situation.
It's like
how much does a crack cookie cost?
I would couple hundred. I'm going to throw it out there. I could be wrong.
Way more than that, dude.
I'm trying to if I got. I don't want to like trigger anyone watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we probably took this too far.
But
it's okay.
I'm just thinking how much they charged me for like a little and like doing them. What that would like? Yeah, definitely way more than a couple hundred. Thinking about that now.
What was your daily budget for crack cocaine usage?
I wasn't very budgeted. It was what I actually had, what I could steal, what I could connive.
Okay,
what I could hustle.
Let's get back to.
That's what it was. It wasn't like some days were better than others. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys know what I'm talking about.
So we went from cookies to pies. That's where I was going.
There
with
you
this.
go. Exactly.
Okay. Put us back on track, Steve.
All right. So in early recovery, like it kind of formed naturally in my life. A lot of what I was seeing, what was working for me as like kind of like the lone person that did not fall off of recovery, because you get clean with a bunch of people, and sometimes it's great. Like we had a couple, like we've been fortunate with a lot of our communities. Like a lot of them are still clean. You know what I mean? Like a whole group of them still doing the right thing and stuff. Sometimes not. For my situation, I think I'm the only one still clean, and even they were kind of dropping off after a few months. You know what I mean? Like going back to active addiction, going to another treatment center, what have you. But I was like, what's working for me? You know what I mean? And like, I realized like I was kind of having balance in my life. And it's something like an idea, a philosophy I've held on to in my whole recovery life. I've been clean 15 years, so that's a good amount of time to do really good in recovery and to not do good in recovery without using. You know what I'm saying? Making a lot of mistakes. And I look at the pie chart as, when I say recovery pie chart, I also mean life pie chart. Recovery is a huge part of that. There's family, there's passion / hobbies, there's work, and spiritual practice. I put that in the recovery slice too, if you will. When you're in early recovery that recovery slice should be a huge part of it. You know what I mean? It should be maybe 75% to 80%.
Big piece of pie.
A big old piece of slice,
like with whipped cream on top, cherry, even microwave it for a little bit, 15 seconds. It's got to be decadent.
Decadent, exactly.
Right.
Like a real nice one, And then like, I mean, for some, my family at the time was just my parents, my brother, you know what I mean? Didn't have a girlfriend or a wife or anything like that or kids. So like, that was not that big of a piece. And then my work, you know what I mean? It was just like menial jobs, in early recovery. It wasn't like a huge piece either. Hobbies, passions, that was getting bigger. That's because that was a huge part of, I believe, why I built a good foundation, was because I was actually enjoying life again. You know what I mean? So I was doing the things I enjoyed, old passions, new passions and hobbies. So that was a decent sized piece. But, as me and Ben were kind of just talking before this, like that expression in recovery that we have is recovery will give you a life that will kind of take you away from recovery. Did I word that right?
Yes.
And when we say that, we mean you get a lot of gifts, you get a life again. And with that comes responsibilities. You can lose focus. I know I have over the years. And that recovery slice that might have been 75, 80% starts to diminish more and more and more. And maybe it becomes like almost a sliver. And work is the 80% one, or if it's 50%. And then you have, family's a huge thing, which is great. But like the recovery pie chart is where everything's pretty even. And again, look, that's hard to balance. That's life. You know what I mean? Some years it's going to be more dominating than others. That's the life on life term type of situations. But a good recovery pie chart, ideally for me, is everything about even, with the lens of recovery still being the most important thing. Because my behaviors are dictated by my recovery, my decisions, just my general focus,
You brought up a good point before we started recording, that you're also adding more things in there into the pie that you got to divide it amongst too. There's, like you said earlier, in a nutshell, there's not too much going on. Maybe you don't have a job. Your family doesn't want you involved. Like, you got tons of time for recovery, but then you get the job. Then you get the family back. Specifically earlier, you brought up, let's say you're a young single guy or lady, you get sober a few years, and all of a sudden you have a family. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. Guys that were a huge part of my home group, there every week, all of a sudden they have a baby and they disappear like they graduated. And they almost have this attitude of like, well, I have a baby now. I've graduated. And that is scary.
Very scary, because that's like an end point. That's almost a kind of reservation itself. Once I get this stuff, once I get that stuff, once I get the good job, once I have this amount of money in my bank account, that's when this is, you know what I mean? Like, the recovery thing is going to kind of, or I'll go when I can,
Let me give an example, because I'm feeling heated about this right now. Honestly, I'm like in a state of anger over this. And it's out of love and frustration that the solution is there. But I had a sponsee that I met at the Fern House several years ago, took him through steps. He passed away this past week. And this dude was well on his way, had a few years of sobriety under his belt. But I remember when he had just over a year of sobriety, he asked me to speak at a meeting for him that he was chairing the meeting. And this was one of the last times that I saw him. And this was probably 2 years ago. And, we just kind of drifted apart, not intentionally, but, life, dude. It kind of is what it is. You have situations like that. I have sponsees that, for whatever reason, like, cling to your side forever, and you become really close. And this guy, don't get me wrong, we were really close for a long time. But I will not forget this. Last time I saw him, I said, hey, man, you're chairing this meeting. That's awesome. Like, how many sponsees you got right now? Have you gotten on your 12th step yet? And he's like, no. And he kept not doing it. And I remember he had just started like a little handyman construction company for himself, like a one-man show, but wanted to get some employees and whatnot. And, I told him, I'm like, dude, you got to keep doing this work. Like, you're at step 12. You got to live in 10, 11, and 12. And he's like, no, Ben, you don't understand. I need to focus on building this construction company. That's my dream. Guess what, dude? He's dead now.
Is this the guy that did your bathroom?
No. That's Austin. He's still sober.
That's good.
But, dude, it's frustrating because you go through steps, you get somebody to this point, and they make a, what's the word I'm looking for? Conscious decision to not continue with the work and choose to do something else. And what Steve and I were talking about before we hit record is that, like, literally you have this in your hands, which gave you this opportunity to begin with. Then you're going to stop doing the thing that got you the opportunity to begin with, thinking like, oh, I've arrived and I got this thing. Like, why don't you keep doing it so that you can keep reaping the rewards? Like, just because you got the opportunity to start a construction company, if you kept doing the 12-step, maybe you could have turned it into an empire of a construction company. Like, dude, I love this man to death that passed away. Like, I'll leave his name out. You know, we were really close. We did a very good 5th step together. When you do that with someone, the vulnerability there, like, dude, you get close to guys like that. Like, he told me things that he's never told anybody else in his life. And my anger and frustration comes out of the fact that the solution was literally right in his hand. And his brother passed away about a year ago prior. They weren't the same age, but they look almost identical. You imagine what mom's going through, dude? Like,
Horrific.
You lost your 2 sons. Like, God, it's so frustrating.
So, and it's avoidable, especially when you have time, you know?
I knew a guy that when I first got sober, he was pretty instrumental in my sobriety, and I'll leave his name out, but he was the typical case of made money his higher power, and over the course of 10 years, in and out of treatment. And this guy made millions of dollars and then would squander it all, and then make millions of dollars again, squander it all, and ended up, I think it was an accidental overdose. But again, one of those examples of people that just totally misprioritize things and forget, like, what gave you this life to begin with. But I also think, going back to what, Ben, you were saying, somewhat of an analogy, and I think this could open up for a good discussion. You know, when we think of people that have a lot of weight to lose, call it 100 pounds. Somebody has 100 pounds to lose. If I said to you, hey, I can get you to lose that 100 pounds, one option A is going to be, we're going to lose that weight within 3 months, and it's going to involve copious amounts of cardio, very low calorie, yada, 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 all the things that come with a crash diet. Maybe we're going to put you on a carnivore diet, low calorie, tons of cardio, so on and so forth, and you'll lose that weight in 3 months. Or we could do it in a slow, sustainable way, and you'll lose 100 pounds over the course of 18 months. What do you think most people would choose?
You want to lose it right away.
Yeah. And the reason that I want to bring this up as an analogy is because option A isn't sustainable. Most people can lose the weight. Losing the weight, generally speaking, is the easy part. The hard part is keeping it off. And I think we find this in recovery sometimes, that people, you nod your head. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, because it's almost like the opposite of what we're talking about, too. It's both extremes. Because we've seen this where guys get sober and they'll go to like 4 meetings a day.
Yeah.
And you're like, bro, one day you're going to have to get a job. What are you going to do? Like, there is a balance, going back to the pie. Like, you have to be realistic in what you're setting up. And that's a great analogy. Because if you think about it, too, like, if you go back to the weight loss perspective, the amount of stress that your body would go through to lose 100 pounds in, say, 3 months would be crazy. Where if you spread it out over 18 months, by the time you hit that 3-month mark trying to lose 100 pounds, like, dude, your body would be under so much stress that the chance that you're going to feel like crap because of the way that you did it, And then you're just going to gorge yourself back for your body to recoup rather than being methodical about it, losing a little bit at a time without killing yourself. And recovery is the same exact thing, dude. Like, yes, I 100% agree with Steve on the pie chart thing. Recovery should be 75% in the beginning. Absolutely. But not 100%, because I wouldn't agree with 100% for sure.
Me neither. I have a friend actually, like he's still clean. I think I had he probably has like 13 or 14 years clean. And he got clean like in his early 20s too. And it was crazy. And like at the time, like I didn't like, it kind of blew my mind because he's like, he was like Mr. Service, Mr. going to meetings, all this stuff, like off the rip. And like, damn, this guy's killing it. And his sponsor told him like, yo, you need a hobby. You need to take up surfing or something. You need something. And his mind was blown. I remember us talking about this like at Starbucks, like very vividly. And he just like almost felt like I thought I was doing all the right stuff, but like he was, but it kind of cheap. What your analogy, it probably wasn't sustainable. So a sponsor had to reel him back a little bit. Like enjoy life too, find a hobby, like you're going to be burnt out.
To touch on the realistic part too, like again, a little bit contradict myself in a way, but again, realistic is the word I want to emphasize. There are guys, for instance, that get sober, they're like 65, and maybe they have plenty of money saved and they don't ever have to work again. Because I know some guys up at Oasis that literally do the 4 meetings a day thing, but they don't ever have to get a job again.
Yeah.
Their kids are grown. Maybe their wife passed away, and if that's what makes them happy, cool. So it's really evaluating the individual though too.
For sure.
What's realistic?
And it's a lot of those guys. I know those we had like in NA too. We have those groups, a bunch of old timers. A lot of them are like that's their social circle too.
Yep.
That's their they go out to lunch afterwards and they're going out to dinner afterwards at the the later meeting too. You know what I mean? So. But that's their life. It's very different. Someone who's 65 is getting, or, with some years is definitely different from someone in their 20s getting clean. You know what I mean? And what their life looks like you said, probably a lot less responsibilities, and generally speaking,
I've seen situations where people get resentful towards any sort of 12-step program because of the amount of effort that they put in the beginning. And then even sustained effort throughout months and years, and burn themselves out and then get angry at the program, and it's like, there's nobody holding a gun to your head telling you this is what you have to do. Like 90 and 90, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not stated anywhere. That's not like, there are no complete rules and guidelines when it comes to a 12-step program. I mean, you have the 12 steps and, kind of the unwritten rules and the 12 traditions and yada, yada, yada. But there's no like, you're not going to get a demerit if you don't do X, Y, and Z. Right?
Yeah.
So people go into this just like the weight loss analogy. It's like more is better. And I think in the beginning, sure. Okay. But I think that quickly needs to be evaluated and figured out, okay, how much, like, what's the least amount of effort that I have to put in to elicit the most change? How many meetings can I get away with to elicit the most change? And maybe it's 7, maybe it's 10 in the beginning, maybe it's 3 for some people. I was never like, when I lived in sober living, of course, I went to a meeting every day because I didn't have anything else to do. I wasn't working, I was volunteering, and I was just really kind of like, and I enjoyed it. Like, it was cool. But once I got a job, I'm like, okay, I don't need to go to 7 meetings a week. And I noticed, I remember trying to go to 7 meetings a week and working and doing this and doing that and having fun. And it was kind of stressing me out.
Let me ask you a question. How long did you go to 7 meetings a week for?
7 meetings a day? Or I mean, seven meetings a week.
Yeah, like what
one
span
meeting
of
a
time?
day.
What span of time?
Oh, I mean, if I were to guess, probably 9 months. I would say.
So for 9 months, you did a meeting basically every day.
I mean, I don't know. I can't.
On average,
this
maybe.
is
Well, there's a reason I'm asking
yeah.
too. There's a reason I'm asking because
Keep in mind, I didn't work, and do as I say, not as I do.
Correct.
I didn't work for the first year of my sobriety.
But while I'm not a guy that believes you have to go to a meeting every day.
Me neither.
That's not me. However, I do want to point out the benefit to doing that in the beginning. And it's the same theory that I have with the home group thing. One of the benefits, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is to get a home group. Same meeting every week, same time, same people. Because when you show up to the exact same spot every week, people get to know you. Where I was going with that, Tom, I was going to ask you, as a result of going to a meeting every day, how many people knew who you were?
Oh, everybody.
So essentially, you established your community, but at some point, you got to go off the reservation a little bit and venture out, man. I mean, ain't that a thing in Indian tribes? They're like, okay, go on your hunt.
Yeah.
And come back and bring back a bear. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of racist, Ben.
Dude.
Yeah. They were Indian tribe of Seminole.
No, I know. I had to throw it in there.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But here's my devil's advocate side of me. You don't have to do that in AA.
No.
I can go to three meetings a week and make something else my quote unquote not home group, but I know some people that sprinkle in AA, but they go to Celebrate Recovery every Thursday. You know what I mean? Celebrate Recovery for them is their quote unquote home group, but it's not really AA. It could be, I don't know, a men's group or something along those. I think the point that we're trying to make is that I think I even referenced this in one of the groups that we did, and it says, does it say it in the book, wearing your recovery like a loose garment type thing? How's that go, Ben?
Oh, I don't know.
No, it's in the book. I think.
Is it?
I've heard Eric mention
Tell
it a
me
bunch of
I know
times.
something in the book that you
Eric
don't
talks
know.
about it all the time. It might be in one of the lost pages.
Or one of your guys' literatures. I don't know your literature very well.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw this out there. I'm an expert on the first 103 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe it's 104.
And then the last chapter. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank, dude.
Yeah, quite the
You put me
expert
on the
here,
spot.
Ben.
A vision for you. A vision for you. The forgotten chapters, I'm talking about Two Wives, The Family Afterward, all those ones where you're
All right, well, anyways, we're getting off topic.
Here, what I was going to say is for with my recoveries, and it's looked like this for years, and it's something I realized about myself. For the recovery part of that pie chart, I didn't do 90-90. I didn't do that in my early recovery, but I was doing something consistently always for my recovery. Sometimes I wasn't, and I paid the consequences of that. You know what I mean? After a few years, in terms of being close to relapse, I didn't, but I realized this. But my point is, for what my recovery is I'm doing something for it always. If I'm not going to a lot of meetings, I'm talking to my sponsor or I'm sponsoring guys. Sometimes I'm going to more meetings than I am doing that part. You know what I mean? It's just something. There's something in the recovery is an aspect of my life. It's never not nothing,
This ties into what both of you are saying. And this, I'm going to throw this out there. Even for me to this day, this is controversial. Where, Rock, we're running a treatment center. 12-step programs are supposed to be attraction, not promotion, right? But as a treatment center, we're in a weird spot. So we just kind of have to make a decision on this. We make our clients go to 4 meetings a week. On a 12-step level, I don't agree with it. On a treatment center level, I do agree with it. So it's like a gray area for me. And the idea behind it is if we make them go to 4, at least I know they're not sitting around the recovery residents doing nothing and they're doing something. We want our people being productive. Where I'm going with that, though, is that on Sundays, when we take them to church, which church is optional, we don't make them go. They can go to a meeting or they can go to church. We count it as a meeting it's interchangeable. So they can technically go to 3 meetings a week and church for their 4th one. Point is like, again, you're slicing up the pie.
Yeah.
Is it fulfilling? Does it have positive aspects to it that are also fulfilling your recovery?
I put that in recovery part
Exactly.
of that chart completely.
Well, that brings up a good point, and I think Jordan Peterson brought this up in one of his talks. And Jordan Peterson isn't a huge religion guy, but he recognizes the benefits of going to church on Sundays. Some people don't subscribe to going on church on Sundays, and his argument is not so much the religious aspect of it, but what are you doing to fill that time in? Mm-hmm. You know, I go to church every Sunday. Here and there we miss, obviously. We have 3 kids, depends on, you know, what's going on, if any of them sick or not, blah, blah, blah. Call it 2 hours, you know, travel time and everything. It's a 2-hour thing. If we're choosing to not go to church on a Sunday, what are we doing in that gap of time that is maybe family focused or something? Or is it just like, and there's nothing wrong with, maybe we're just going to be intentional about doing nothing. You know, we're going to take a break and we're just going to, you know, everybody's going to wake up late, eat breakfast, hang out, yada, yada, yada. That's fine if it's intentional, but it can't become a pattern. So the people that want to not do 90 and 90, totally cool. What are you going to do in replacement of maybe the meeting that you're not going to go to? You know what I mean? Like if you know that there's a meeting at 8:00 every single night and you're not going to go on this night, well, what are you going to do in that hour? Is it going to be play Call of Duty? Is it going to be like, you know, whatever, fill in the blank? Because if that's it, maybe you should go to the meeting.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not black and white. But again, I always come back to this. You got to be able to take an honest inventory of yourself.
Yeah.
And mostly the effort that you're putting in, the motive and the action. Are your motives good? One of the things that kills me, dude, it's kind of funny. I was just listening to a guy's fist step this morning, and he walked in. He's like, because he's been sober for 1.5 years, and he was like, and he had a sponsor previously and just got to the 4-step and didn't do it. But when he walked in, he wrote his 4-step, did a great job on it. And he said to me, he's like, oh, finally, man, after 1.5 years, like my writer's block went away. And I just looked at him. I'm like, I'm not going to let that slide, dude. You were just lazy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, right. You know what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. How much effort are you putting in to consistently make your life better? And it doesn't have, like, that recovery portion is going to get smaller in the pie. It has to. In my life, if I speak to it in my life, I actually took this as a compliment the other day. Without going into crazy detail, I've had major life changes since April in my schedule and everything, and I have not been making my home group on Friday nights. It's been tough, very tough for me. But I have a sponsee who actually has 33 years sober. He wanted to go back through the steps with someone, and he asked me to take him through it. That's why he's my sponsee, but he has like triple the amount of time I have. I'm 14 years, 13 years. He has 33 years. But you know, he called me to check on me. And he's like, hey, you know, I know you've had a lot going on. You know, you haven't been at the home group. And he asked me, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I've been hitting some random meetings here and there. And I said, and I just did some step work with one guy. Just did a step work with a different guy the week prior. He's like, oh, no wonder you're staying sober. You know, it was like, I'm when I have the chance, I am doing those things. You know, other than that, life is super, super busy, dude. And it takes freaking effort. And believe me, dude, when I get the opportunity to go to a meeting, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm like, oh, I finally got a break. I could sit down and watch TV. I'm like, nope, I got to go to a meeting. Fun little fact, I haven't turned on my TV in over a month.
Oh, well.
Not one time. That's how busy I've been.
Even at night?
Even at night, I have not turned on the TV once in a month.
Really?
It may be more than a month at this point. It's at least a month, though.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
I mean, I spent all the remainder of my time, Tom, you'll be so proud, posting on Instagram.
Well, maybe you can turn on your TV. You have a smart TV?
It's very smart.
Genius, TV.
Go on YouTube and learn how to be a little bit more creative in your Instagram posting.
All right, let's take
I'm
a poll.
not throwing stones. I'm just saying I'm glad to see your efforts towards Instagram, but it's very granola
I like granola with very vanilla yogurt.
or vanilla. Yeah. Yeah. It's granola. It's
lovely.
vanilla yogurt with granola mixed in.
So let's take this opportunity. You can find us on Instagram.
Yep.
What am I? Real Recovery Talk Ben, and you're Real Recovery Talk Tom. Go on there, hit a little follow button, and, send me some comments on my stuff and tell me if it's granola and vanilla.
Okay, and then go to mine and look at my stuff and send me some comments and tell me if mine's fire or...
Well, wait a minute now. That ain't fair because let me explain. You got a space station over there to edit videos.
The majority of the reels that I do, first off, I do from my phone. You have all the same capabilities as I do.
No.
Yes.
See the space station over there?
Mm-hmm.
The desk even goes up and down electrically. It's
impressive.
like a launch platform.
It's a stand-up desk. Big deal. It's not hard. You can make your stuff a little bit more appealing. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, I'm asking for the people's help.
The people can't help you. What are they going to do?
I'm building a community right now, Tom. They can help me.
Suggestions? I don't have a gram, so I don't know. I see whatever you guys post on Facebook, I see.
Why don't you have an Instagram?
Yeah, it's one more thing.
Okay.
I
Steve,
never-
you look tired.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts, Ben?
No, dude, I'm glad we have buckets on. This is fun.
I like being on.
Buckets, any final thoughts?
No, not really.
That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.